It's the 16th anniversary of some really dark uh, times in my life. And I was dreaming last night and I remembered that it was the anniversary. Like, that's pretty cool, isn't it? Was it yesterday, actually? Well, actually, yeah. So the setting was Bakersfield, California, and the year was 2009. It was something that would forever change my life and set me on a course uh, of trying to achieve one of the most Herculean tasks in the world. Let's try out my new glasses instead of these. I think this might work better. It seems to be better. Yeah, I like it. Nope. So I found myself. I don't know where to begin. My later in life, I would be diagnosed with some mental conditions, and I'm trying to figure out how far back it goes. I never thought there was anything wrong with me, but you know, to me, I was either normal or thought of myself in a super way. Anyway, this is a soul crushing story that somehow I've lived through and I've survived. Not quite thriving, not thriving at all. Just like on the patient is barely has a heartbeat. But I have drive, desire, passion. Um, Yet I find myself driven to go in the direction of, refining my soul, learning more things about what it means for the alchemist to turn base metals into gold. It means more about changing your body, your mind, the way you react to stimulus. Focused on a beneficial outcome. So they would, the police in Bakersfield, California, September 28th, 2009, 3 a.m. After having been at singing karaoke 5 nights in a row, I was invited to a woman's house. I have the recording. It was of the call, and it's pathetic to hear even how broken my speech was then. Let me try to tell this with the tones. They stopped me in the back of an alley with no legitimate reason. The officer said I was going too slow. Later in the report, he said I was speeding. You know, speeding, I've heard a dissertation on speeding um, as a law and as a way to, impose violation penalties on a person. They talk about a rate of speed, and I was going, like 5 miles an hour. Like, I was going really slow. I was looking for a place to park and looking for an address. Driving down the alleyway, passing the police car, they turned their searchlight on and beamed it right, swept it across my face. I had my really long hair and beard, but I was dressed to the nines. I had my vibrantly blue long sleeve shirt on and my nice pants, some nice shoes on. I don't think I can do this anymore. I don't think I can keep talking about this. The squad car would come over, would turn its lights on, pull me over. And the first thing he asked me is, "What is your name?" It's crazy because I've been trained on how to respond to that question. I had listened to this radio show about administrative procedures. There's an Administrative Procedures Act in the U.S. government, and you can invoke it by asking, when you ask a question, a determination about law, and a law enforcement agent answers the question, you can appeal their answer. And, you can ask for their boss to get down there right away. So I said, am I required to have such a thing? He'd asked, what is your name? And he said, yes. I said, I'm appealing your legal determination. You need to get your boss down here right away. He pushed a button on his radio. And then, well, it's 16 years, so it's getting a little hazy. But the gist of the thing is, he was telling me to get out of the car, and I asked him, am I under arrest? He said, yes. Am I being detained? He said, yes. I said, what's the nature of the emergency? He said, you were going too slow. Well, I knew going too slow isn't a violation of anybody's any law. So I knew then and there that this was a false arrest. And false arrests are very special circumstances. They, at least under a Supreme Court decision from 1900, John Bad Elk versus U.S., according to that Supreme Court decision, one has the right to resist false arrest up to and including the use of lethal force. So, well, he asked me to go sit in the back of his squad car, and I did. I didn't think he was going to lock me up in there. I sat in the squad car, but I kept my feet outside. They asked me to put my feet inside the car, and I said, I don't wish to be locked up. And they said, get out and bend over the back of the squad car. I was standing on the side of the squad car near the back. So I bent over, and instantly I was clubbed twice on the backside, right about where my kidneys were, once on each side. And I bolted, meaning I started running. And of course, I was so in shock over the whole thing. I was very stressed out about it all. Even just being stopped by the police. Think about all the excitement and, adrenaline, going to see a woman, and then this whole arrest thing, having been out late 5 nights in a row, and by this time it was already 3 a.m. So I ran out of breath. Ran out of energy about 25 feet away, and I stopped, and I bent over, and I had my hands on my knees. I distanced myself from them, and then Officer Davis said, "Tackle him." And so then, next thing I know, I'm on the ground, and there's a bunch of rocks on the ground, and well, the whole ordeal would leave me bloody and severely bruised in many places, just smashed with batons. 13 more strikes were done against me, 15 in all. I think 3 of them I was able to deflect with the bottom of my foot. I'm down on the ground, and somehow, maybe on my back or something, I was able to kick and intercept the baton. I'm not kicking the officer, mind you. I'm defending myself from this aggression. Um, you know, the strikes were strategic. Near my ankles, my knees, my calves, my upper leg, probably an arm. It was a lot, and then I found myself in a situation that I remembered from high school, where I was on my knees and with my elbows on the ground. My hands were, forward, and his feet were right in front of me as he was facing me, and he was standing over me. And I remembered this move. You just grab the back of his ankles and you push with your shoulders below his knees, and he would fall. And so I did that. And, that's about the only remedy I've gotten in this whole thing, is the satisfaction of dropping that aggressor to the ground and embarrassing the hell out of him. The other officer, Patrick Leffler, Lefler, he had me lay on the ground, turn over on my belly with my hands at my sides. Okay. And then Richard Davis got up and he said, "I think he shot himself," which is, code for, we're going to shoot this guy and he's going to, die. And we're going to put the gun in his hand and say that he stole it from my holster and all of this stuff. Well, then the next thing I know is he's stomping on my head. I'm looking on the ground this way to my right, and he's stomping on my head 3 times. He does it, and just then all the other squad cars start arriving. So he can't make good on his shooting me. He has to stop stomping on my head. And I live to tell this story. I was an early advocate of Bitcoin. This was September 28th of 2009. Bitcoin hadn't really even hardly established a price yet. They had this pizza transaction where a couple pizzas were ordered, and somebody accepted 10,000 Bitcoins to do this multinational transaction of getting a couple pizzas delivered to their house. It was probably about I don't know what the value was, but That was the first time that we know of that Bitcoin was used, in a monetary way. So, in Michael Turpin's book, released recently about the Bitcoin super cycle, he said that the price of Bitcoin back around those early days would have been 10 Bitcoins for a penny. Why am I saying all this? I was telling people about Bitcoin. I had skills in IT. I was on track. I was in part brought out to uh, live with some friends in California because I had some knowledge about Bitcoin, and they thought I could help explain it to them. So now the focus of my life shifted. And the memory of Bitcoin was erased from my mind. You can imagine where this is going. One of the things in law is the law of equity. And it's this principle that, if you're harmed, there's damages. Well, one of the kinds of damages is called opportunity loss. It's what you would have done if you hadn't been injured. And well, I had a $1,500 car, Toyota Camry. I had a 50-cent silver piece in my pocket, a couple other smaller coins. And I had all this knowledge about how to do things with the Linux operating system. And I would have started mining Bitcoin with, my laptop back then. I could have mined hundreds of Bitcoins, if not thousands. And I would have, as in later in life, around 2012, no, 2013, I would guess. I got involved with Bitcoin again because it was explained to me over again, and it was strange that I didn't remember it. It's pretty staggering when you had the opportunity to be a trillionaire and and all of that was stolen from you. So, I've dabbled in the concepts of individual sovereignty, and I've mentioned it in the courts. And it was weird being in that jail. Well, at first they sent me to a hospital, right? And there's more to this, and you can hear about other recollections of this. I talk about Bakersfield and Kern County and all of the dishonor, the ongoing dishonor of those places, those fictitious corporations, those, you know, it's an ongoing racketeering operation of a criminal sort. They do this to all sorts of people, and it has to end. It's not something where you can just sue them in court. I mean, maybe somebody else could, but I don't see the court's legitimacy. So it's kind of hard to use them to do this. I'm casting a wider net. Like, look, I'm looking for a way to put them back in honor and to give everyone the value that they're due in life. Like, each of us has infinite worth. Money is a horrible, horrible, horrible thing. The way it's designed from debt and scarcity, it matches in no way, shape, or form to the value of human life. Anyway, I find that the value that they took from me at that time, the damages they caused me, they broke my face bone. I think it was a cheekbone, and it was fractured. And they scheduled me for facial reconstructive surgery, which I never went to. The hospital was injuring me by not giving me water as a form of retribution for tipping the officer over. Imagine that, a hospital taking sides and refusing someone care because of a lying police officer's false testimony. It's not that I didn't tip him over. I had every right to tip him over and then some, as I've outlined earlier. But I spared his life. Now, things change over time. Like, there's state laws that have been put into effect that talk about resisting arrest. And they don't really talk about the false arrest aspect of it. So, that's kind of up in the air. Maybe that kind of legal thinking has changed over time. But I'll bet if you challenged those state laws that they would be invalid. because of the Supreme Court ruling from 1900. It's kind of like laws that are, in opposition to the Constitution are void from the very beginning of the creation of the law. So they call that void ab initio. So my work continues. I feel I have a tremendous asset to share with the world, and that is the forgiveness of these acts against me. And we can create a whole new monetary system. I think it's got to be worth at least $3 quintillion by now, because you take all those damages and what a jury would award for them a value, and then you multiply that by the growth factor of Bitcoin from then till now. Every penny you would have invested in Bitcoin then is worth $1 million now, because you could have bought 10 Bitcoins then for a penny, and now 10 Bitcoins is worth over $1 million. That is the kind of thing I have to think about every now and then. It just overwhelms me, and it really shows me that every one of us has infinite worth. And every time we're distracted by some, musical thing on television, on the radio or whatever, and we're just out there, in a daze, not focusing on doing the things we want to do, we are being ruined of our opportunity. So if you want to, enjoy some entertainment or whatever, do it. But realize that every penny that you could earn, every penny that you could save to invest might be worth $1 million someday. And you'll think about your time in a different way. You'll think about the lives of the people around you and their opportunity. And then think about, the institutions that grow up around you that want to keep you as a servant, a subject, a minion, a peon, basically, begging for your existence or whatever. Meanwhile, all the peons are at war with each other, and the markets are the marketplaces where you buy goods and services are all facilitating this kind of a passive aggressive thing. You want to buy your goods and services for this money that's some people have the right to print. or invent as numbers on a bank ledger, as long as you guarantee to pay it back. Anyway, I just wanted to come on here and do a show, talk about this whole nature things. It isn't over yet. They talk about, there being a limit to the amount of time that these kind of lawsuits can be handled within, and this isn't over with. That's all I can say. It's not done yet, and I am equal and greater than those things that come against me. Using these kind of approaches, like in karate or jiu-jitsu, you use the force of your opponent, and you use that to neutralize them, and that's the kind of power that I wield and possess. That's the mindset that I have. So anyway, thank you if you've listened and watched this. I appreciate it. We'll talk with you later. Let's see if I've got anything I can put up here more about what I do. I can work on people's injuries and stuff with a tuning fork remotely. Can clear a lot of trauma and places where you tend to acquire injuries on your body. Sound healing, we call that, maybe. This show is called Joe Baker's Remedy Report. I'm glad to bring this to you. ForgivenessCapital.com is kind of my main website for all this. And RemedyCoin.com is one where I've written a draft proposal where I considering forgiving these officers and instantiating the value of the forgiveness on a blockchain, and then giving it to people as an asset. Then I thought, well, we can actually just all agree to forgive all of each other, and we could instantiate $240 quintillion. That's what the antimoney.net concept is. Of course, these are kind of old. Forgivenesspubliclicense.org is out there. Those are contract terms. You can forgive people according to the FPL, and then it means something very specific. And another thing you can do with those around you is agree to forgive each other for anything in the future ahead of time, so that your immediate remedy is to claim your forgiveness if you do something that kind of disrupts that whole thing. And it kind of reopens negotiations in a different way than most people would just get cut off, from each other. And this helps to stop the whole divide and conquer technology that's used against civilizations and countries and families and intimate relationships. And that's it. I hope I hope you have a great day. Thanks for going down a dark rabbit hole with me today. We'll see you sometime. Bye.